Hello everybody and welcome to Overwatch 1 Season 1. With the big new update, I figured now would be a great time to make a settings video. This video is going to cover everything from the basic stuff to more niche things. So if you're a returning player, a new player, or even a veteran player, I think you can still learn something from it. And yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so I want to start off in sound because I think this is one of the most important ones that not a lot of people know about. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to lower your sound effects volume here. I put mine around like 60, and then you're going to want to up your master volume to account for that. That way your volume is still relatively the same as it was before. And then you're going to want to take your in-game voice volume and crank that to 100. And what this will do is it'll make voice lines a lot louder than everything else, which can really help your awareness. And like ult voice lines, for example, will be very loud, and so you can react faster. You will absolutely know if they're going off. You'll never be caught off guard by it. And yeah, so that's very useful. The only other thing in sound is down at the bottom, place sound when teammate eliminated, or when enemy eliminated. You want to have that on. It's just free information. You know, it gives you a better idea of if your team is up in a team fight, whether or not you should invest ults. So yeah, keep that on. All right, now let's go to video. I want to start off in the graphics quality tab. So for this, I'm going to give you guys the sweat settings, and it's up to you whether or not you want to use that. These right here are the sweat settings. Basically all low except anti-alias quality while off, damage effects set to low, and then shadow detail, keep it on low. Don't set it to off because who just followed me? Yeah, thanks to the follow. You should also follow me on twitch.tv/chosen_w. All right, yeah, shadow detail, keep that on low because it can give you information sometimes. One thing I just realized I forgot to mention: if you are going to play on higher settings, one thing to consider that will give you a disadvantage is model detail. If you go on anything above low, the game will put a lot more objects onto the maps. They don't block your bullets, but they can really block your vision. I'll put an example on screen, but it's very noticeable. So yeah, keep that in mind. I recommend keeping your model detail on low if you don't want to be at a competitive disadvantage. All right, now back to general. So at the top here, display mode, I use borderless windowed. I think full screen's technically a little bit better. I don't notice any latency on Windows, so I think windowed's fine as well. I think full screen will give you slightly better performance if you need it. So if you're using that, use your monitor's resolution and the highest refresh rate possible. If you're looking at this and you don't see your monitor's listed refresh rate, that means that you haven't set it to that in your display settings. I'll go ahead and do a public service announcement for all the people who maybe don't know and got a high refresh rate monitor recently. It doesn't come like that out of the box. You got to go into your Windows settings and set it to the refresh rate. Yeah, so go do that if you haven't already. Okay, moving on. So field of view, keep that on 103. You're going to want it there. That's also important for something I'm going to tell you later regarding the scope sensitivities. Dynamic render scale, you're going to want that off. Render scale and frame rate, put those on custom. Please put those on custom. Also, there's a bug. I think it might be fixed, but I used to have this where anytime I would change my graphics quality, it would set these back to automatic without me noticing. So be careful that I think it's fixed, but yeah. Frame rate, probably just put it at 600. That's fine. I keep mine capped just because I want my game to feel the same off stream and on stream, but it's fine to just let it fly. If you want to cap it, that's fine too. One thing I will say though is it does give you better performance to have your frame rate above your refresh rate. So, get all the frames you can. If you want to cap it for a bit more consistency, that's understandable too. Now, render scale. I skipped this one because there's a lot to go over here. So this one really depends on how sweaty you want to get. So what render scale does is it just lowers the resolution. However, it doesn't lower the resolution of your UI. And that will give you better performance, but that's not why you might want to do it. The reason why you might want to do it is because it affects player outlines. Basically, the way player outlines work in Overwatch is they are always 1 pixel wide. It doesn't matter if you're on 4K or 720p, it's always 1 pixel wide. And that 1 pixel is going to appear a lot larger if you're on a lower resolution. So I'm on 1440p, for example. If I put it at 100, you can see the outlines aren't very wide. But if I put this on 50, they're a lot wider. It's easier to see. My game does look a little squishy. So yeah, that's ultimately up to you. I'm a top 500 player. I'm a champ player. I play on 100, 1440p. It's not that big of a deal. I think if you're on 4K though, you should definitely consider lowering this because the outlines become like almost invisible at that point. And let's be honest, you don't need all that resolution for Overwatch. VSync off, triple buffering off, reduce buffering off. NVIDIA Reflex enabled plus boost. The ones at the bottom don't matter too much. I up my contrast a little bit. You can if you want. All right, next up, let's go to the gameplay tab. So under miscellaneous here at the bottom, you're gonna want to enable high precision mouse input. It's gonna make your inputs feel better. Go to HUD, and the ones you're gonna want to look for are the ability timer ring opacity, and then the in-world ones down here. I think by default they're set to 1, and sometimes that can obstruct your vision. So basically, these are like the indicators for like the point, or if somebody dies, like their death respawn indicator. At 100, they can definitely obstruct your vision. I do 20. I think if you're more new to the game, maybe do around like 50. That way you still notice them. And then the ability timer ring, you don't have to. I think it's good to lower it. That's like when you're on Ramach, when you go into like pummel form, there's like the ring around your crosshair. Like Genji Blade as well. All right, now let's go to the accessibility tab. What we're gonna want to change is under motion. I like to have camera shake set to reduced. Also HUD shake, I have that turned off. Not a huge deal, but I think it's nice to have. Makes it more smooth. And then subtitles, I personally don't use them, but I think he can maybe give you an advantage. It's up to you. All right, finally, let's get into the controls. So there's too much to go over here. I'm not going to get into the specifics of every hero because I don't play some of the heroes enough to like even know. But what I do really want to go over are the hero scoped sensitivities, because this is where it gets weird. Most of the Overwatch default settings are decent. The scope sensitivities are not. So what most games do is the default scope sensitivity is just 1. Like if we look at, let's go to Widow here. All right, go to Hero and HUD. This is where we can see our scope sensitivity. Basically, the way it works is your sensitivity depends on your field of view. And for most games, the default scope sensitivity is just 1. And that basically converts your sens to what it would be equivalent to at the new scoped field of view. Overwatch doesn't do that for some reason. And so people have to go and like manually do the calculations to figure out what the 1-to-1 scope sens would be. So I'll just go ahead and put those on screen for your convenience. For Widow, it's 37.89. They're all just a bunch of decimals. So I'll put it for all the heroes. That way you have that. I highly recommend it. It's what most players use. And it should, at the very least, be the first thing you try. Some other things under Hero and HUD. Allied health bars, want to keep that on default. I recommend turning on show friendly outlines. It basically just puts a blue outline around your teammates. It can lower your frame rate by like a couple. It's not a big deal. I like to have it on, especially as a support player. I recommend having it on. Reticle. People kind of freak out over crosshair. Crosshair really doesn't matter that much as long as you don't have something stupid. It's just something to indicate the middle of your screen. A crosshair is not going to magically make your aim better. If you want to copy my crosshair, pause the video, go ahead. Keep in mind it might look a little different for you if you're on a different resolution. I'm on 1440p. If you're on a lower resolution, it might appear a lot bigger because there's less pixels in the small crosshair area to work with. And yeah, I think that's just about everything. I'm making this video kind of hastily on the day of the release. So if I missed anything, put it in the comments and I'll make a pinned comment and keep editing it and add anything I missed. So check the pinned comments for that. Yeah, if you're watching this a couple hours after it's posted, I am live on Twitch, streaming the new day. I also stream every night, so if you're watching this and it's nighttime in America, I'm probably live. So go follow me over there. Would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, good luck in Overwatch Season 1.